Hi, I'm Shakiba Mogaram, a sport and exercise psychology PhD researcher at the University of Portsmouth in the UK. And today I'm going to be briefly discussing the mistreatment of Iranian athletes under the dictatorship of the Iranian government by drawing up on some particular athletes. Many exceptional athletes have fallen victim to their country's oppressive regimes, where their athletic pursuit is nothing but a dream. So for our first case study, I'm going to take Kimia Alizadeh as an example. Alizadeh is an extremely skilled taekwondo athlete from Iran who went to become the first Iranian woman to win an Olympic medal in 2016. Instead of celebrating this historic achievement, Alizadeh faced hostility from the Iranian government. Much of this was due to Iran's strict oppressive laws against women. Women in Iran are expected to cover their hair and avoid clothing which fits tightly on their body. This became an official law and therefore compulsory after the 1979 Iranian Revolution that created an Islamic Republic in Iran. Iranian women also face discriminatory laws that deny them of equal rights in comparison to their male counterparts. After facing unjust treatment from the Iranian government, Alizadeh made a very difficult decision and immigrated to Europe in 2020. Shortly after her decision to permanently leave her country, Alizadeh stated the following on her Instagram: "I wore whatever they told me to wear. Every sentence they ordered me to say, I repeated. Whenever they saw fit, they exploited me. I am one of the millions of oppressed women in Iran with whom they have been playing for years." Now I'm going to shift the focus to another athlete. So in September 2020, Navid Afkari, an incredibly talented wrestler who was due to compete in the postponed 2020 Olympics, was unfortunately executed by the Iranian government following Afkari's involvement in 2018's anti-government protests in Iran, which continued throughout 2019 and 2021. Afkari was held captive for several months and was tortured at the hands of the Iranian government before he was wrongfully executed without trial. Even after his death, his case is still being discussed as there are several unanswered questions about Afkari's involvement in a so-called murder that he was charged with. Despite a global outcry for Afkari's release, the Iranian government executed him without fair trial. And now for our last case study, which is a more recent one. 26-year-old Iranian boxing champion and boxing coach Mohammad Javad was sentenced to death for protesting economic corruption in Iran, a continuation of Iran's execution spree of athletes. They sentenced him to death for spreading corruption on earth. And according to Iranian human rights experts, the charge of spreading corruption on earth is frequently used against protesters in the Islamic Republic of Iran to purge the country of any resistance against the policies of regime supreme leader Ali Khamenei. Ultimately, Olympians have become a high-profile target for the Iranian government, where their mistreatment, torture, and at times even death completely flies under the radar. Additionally, the notion that a regime could use an Olympian to send a warning to the public is relatively absent from any literature. And this is where scholars should join and unite to stand against inhumane treatment of athletes who are prisoners within their own homes. As well as this, I believe the International Olympic Committee, IOC for short, needs to be proactive in their stance against human rights violations. After these incidents, which are not isolated episodes of oppression, the IOC failed to meaningfully and proactively address the unfair treatment of some of their athletes, despite their promise to deliver on their human rights responsibilities. And so surely an organization so seemingly dedicated to human rights and so widely known and respected have the power and authority to intervene in such alarming, life-threatening circumstances. Intervening could bring about equality, justice, and in some cases, a second chance at life for athletes facing similar barriers as a result of systemic oppression and discriminatory laws. And one way to achieve this would be via policy implementation. Policy implementation can lead to meaningful actions and enable organizations such as the IOC to hold oppressive governments accountable for mistreatment of athletes. It can also help safeguard athletes who face discrimination and unjust treatment, and those who put their lives in danger by simply pursuing their sporting dreams. Thank you for listening.